This might be my last video because tomorrow I'm going to be hanged for my crimes of. Let me check my notes here. Being horny on Maine. Anyway, let's have a little bit of a chat. DVD community, I feel like, again, I make one of these videos like once a week, but again, sometimes it's just better to turn on the camera and just start talking. So, as you probably know by this point, because by the time you see this video, she will either be released or about to be released, Lara Croft is coming to Dead by Daylight. The PTB came out, and I did an initial PTB reaction, talked a little bit about her perk. She has one perk that I really like, which is Finesse, because it's a very strong perk, but it's also balanced fairly well, and I think that it's really cool. I think it opens up a new avenue for chase builds. The Fast Vault build has returned, and I'm not really mad at that. You know, I think it's really good. Then she had a perk called Hardened, which is honestly a piece of shit. It is it's out power crept by Calm Spirit, which is wild because normally for something to be power crept, it has to come out after the thing. It has to come out before the thing that's power creeping it. But no, Calm Spirit, a perk that released ages ago, literally years, 8 years ago, is better than Hardened. So it's just kind of like you know, it's a perk that definitely needs some work. It's Wicked. You guys remember old Wicked when the PTB Wicked, how bad it was? Yeah, it's Wicked. It needs to be changed. And then there is a problematic perk, which I've already done a full video on called the Specialist Problem. I'll probably link it in the description somewhere. You can go check that out. But the point is that Lara Croft is coming to Dead by Daylight. And just like when my boy Vecna and the Bard came to Dead by Daylight, a bunch of people have been making tons of posts about how Lara doesn't belong in Dead by Daylight because, quote, she's not horror enough. Oh, horror, my precious horror. Now, I've obviously not been in the community for a long time. I feel like it's a long time at this point. I've been making content on this game for nearly 2 years now. I think we're like 2 or 3 months away from like basically a full like 2-year mark of making content on this game. I've been a regular content creator for around 10 or so months. You know, daily uploads and mostly discussions and people hearing about me and things like that. So I wasn't around during somebody like Trickster. Trickster is a character who I have heard a couple of times, quote, does not belong in horror because of how neon and bright he is, when in reality, he belongs perfectly in horror because he belongs in the normal guy slasher genre, along with Norman Bates and American Psycho and things like that. He belongs in the, this is a cool guy on the surface that everybody knows and loves, but underneath the surface, he's a psychopathic murderer. And that is a genre of horror. But I was around for the Skull Merchant, where people were like, oh, why is she so sexualized? Look at how she walks with her hips swaying back and forth, and her bedeviled mask. Oh, she's not horror. And I was like, yes, she is. She murders other CEOs. What do you mean she's not horror? She literally makes a game out of killing people. Now, whether or not her lore is, like, good, I don't know. I haven't fully read it, and I need to at some point so I can actually be a part of the conversation, but the Skull Merchant is horror. A lot of this idea that blah 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 isn't horror comes from multiple things. The first one being stereotypes. This happened with the Dungeons & Dragons thing, and I made a whole rant about how Dungeons & Dragons actually is horror. You just don't know what Dungeons & Dragons is because your only viewpoint of it is through a pop culture lens, and it's really freaky to me. When I made that video, somebody came to me and they were like, actually, it's not horror. Stranger Things made it horror. No, they didn't. No, what? Who told you that? Why would you think that? And then I asked them, I was like, how long have you been playing Dungeons & Dragons? They were like, since Stranger Things came out. I'm so tired of people like talking about things that they don't know about. Do you guys know it's okay to say, I don't know? Did you know that? Did you know it's okay to be like, yeah, I don't know enough about this to comment on it? I do it all the time. all the time. I'll be like, yeah, no, I didn't play back then. I couldn't tell you about it. I can't tell you what's going on. Or I'll be like, hey, I actually haven't watched this show, or I haven't seen the full story of this going on, so I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what everything is about, so I can't give you an opinion. It's okay to say I don't know. But anyway, regardless, the main reason people don't think that certain things are not horror enough, including original chapters and licensed chapters, is not only a pop culture perception of the thing, but also because these people take horror and they put it in this tiny little box. And it's really frustrating to me. I don't know where the idea started that horror was only blood and guts, mass murder, slasher genre. Or that it was only ghosts and monsters and stuff like that. Like, I don't know where this idea came from, because horror, in my opinion, is the most diverse genre out there. Outside of like maybe action adventure, but I think action adventure is like just a really weird generic catch-all term that really frustrates me. So if we take the genre of stories, things like fantasy, horror, romance, comedy, etc., out of those, horror tends to be the most diverse genre I've ever seen in my life, because there's so many ways to incur the idea of horror. And the last time I talked about this, the last time I discussed how horror is a lot more diverse than people give it credit for, someone in my comment section tried to tell me that I was wrong, and that horror is actually this super specific thing, completely ignoring what I was talking about, where I say that you guys just see horror in this very narrow-minded sense. And the same thing has happened with Tomb Raider. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know much about Tomb Raider. I was never really a fan of the Tomb Raider games. I didn't really play them that much growing up, if at all. I don't really think I really played them at all. I think I've played like maybe 10, 15 minutes of one of them, which one I couldn't tell you, so I can't tell you whether or not Tomb Raider is horror. And I don't really have an opinion on whether or not it is horror enough to be in DBD. What I do know is that there are horror elements to it. There are horrific aspects to it, especially in the reboot series, because Laura is typically running away from monsters and mass murderers, like people trying to kill her and things like that. So I know there are horror elements in it, but I don't know if it is classified as horror. Like Resident Evil would be survival horror, you know what I mean? But what I do know is that horror is such a diverse genre, and Dead by Daylight only has so many pure horror things left that they could reasonably get a hold of and put in this game. I understand that you are out there and you are about to like type up this long list of obscure ass indie horror movies that you want to see in Dead by Daylight. I understand that. And I think that it is perfectly fine for everybody to get their shot at getting their dream chapter. And now that we have things like Lara Croft, like Dead by Daylight, the idea that anything with horror adjacency can be in the game opens up so many avenues for people's dream licenses. I saw people talking about whether or not Star Wars should come to the game. I fucking think Star Wars is one of the most mid franchises of all time. I really didn't care for it. I didn't hate it, but you know, it's alright. It's alright, right? But even I can't deny how absolutely badass Darth Vader would be as a killer. Like, dude, walking around with Darth fucking Vader, hearing that as he fucking approaches you, could you imagine the terror radius? Could you imagine if they brought in John Williams to do the terror radius? Oh my God. It would be orgasmic. What do you mean? Even as someone, like I said, who's not the only Star Wars thing I've ever liked was The Mandalorian, right? That, like, as someone who is not a Star Wars fan, I think that would be sick. But you know what? I have also seen people talking about how they would like to have FNAF in the game. Now, FNAF is obviously a horror series, but I don't know anything about FNAF. I don't much care for it either. But you know what I won't do? I won't argue with you or insult you or berate you because you're excited for it to come to the game. This is something that I brought up in my D&D rant, but this is the point of this video as well. I am sick and fucking tired of people just straight up antagonizing people because they are happy that a certain chapter is coming to the game. Lara Croft is coming to the game, and people are trying to argue that it's not horror enough, and they're disappointed, and they don't like it, and yada, 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 yada. But they're also straight up berating people who are excited for it. And a lot of you are, like, playing this weird whataboutism shit. Like, I saw a post on Reddit after Lara Croft got announced. Someone, like, did, like, the celebratory, yes, I love Tomb Raider, I've always loved playing it, it's gonna be in the game, I'm gonna main her, because it's one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. Like, they were super excited. And then in the comments, there were just tons of fucking, well, what about FNAF? Well, what about the Terrifier? Well, what about Candyman? Well, what about my dick and balls? Well, what about my mom's 4th grade cousin? Well, what about that creepy guy who touched me at camp that one time? Like, there's just this whole fucking, like, complete whataboutism list about what they would rather see. Could you just let people enjoy shit? Can we literally just let people enjoy their fucking game? Enjoy their chapter? Everybody will get the chance, hopefully, to get their dream license into the game. Everybody will hopefully get the opportunity to have a good time and see something they've always wanted to see to the game. That is one of the beauties of Dead by Daylight, because Dead by Daylight is not like Fortnite. It's not just bring a license in, put it on to the same thing as every single other thing, and everything's the same. Right? With Survivors, it kind of is, but you also get the ability to have, like, unique perks and everything that try to feel like you're playing as the character. They don't always work as well as they should, I will admit, but I like that idea. But the thing with, like, licensed killers, we can actually bring the killers into the game. We can bring the characters into the game. And I think, personally, that if Behavior keeps getting a hold of licenses that are off the cuff, then eventually we might even be able to raise enough money to bring forth a better system with Survivors to where we're not dealing with the same animations across every survivor. One thing that really, like, grinds my gears is that there's only one skeleton for male survivors and one skeleton for female survivors. And that's why Asteri, the elf woman for the troop, the bard, that's why they have male animations. I choose to headcanon them as transgender, because, you know, fuck you. That's why I can do what I want. But that's why they have male animations, because they wanted to make sure that the animations matched Bazaar. I think his name is Bazar, something like that. I don't pay attention to him. I like the elf lady. But it's, like, literally one of those things where you should be excited that we are getting things that are horror adjacent as opposed to pure horror, because it means that there is many more things to come. Now, I did an entire video about how I do want them to slow down on licenses just because I miss original content, but at the same time, I think that personally, here's what I think. I think 2 originals and 2 licensed main chapters every year will be just fine. 2 original mains, 2 licensed main chapters every year will be a really good content cycle. And just, we're going to get the chance, right? We don't know what's going on with FNAF, okay? They might have it. We don't know. You don't know. Right? But you need to leave it be for now, just for now, so that you can breathe and calm down, and eventually you will get the licensed chapters you want. But if a licensed chapter comes out and you don't like it, that is not an invitation for you to start belittling people because they are excited for a new chapter. And playing these whataboutisms is the most fucking bizarre thing I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Completely and utterly trying to ruin people's enjoyment and excitement for things that they love coming to the game is so wild to me. Why do you hate other people's happiness so much? I am a chronically depressed person. You guys can't tell. I talk about it a lot, but a lot of people can't tell because I'm really good at hiding it. But I cry like 30 times a day. I wake up every morning and go, fuck, I'm still alive. I hate my life and I hate myself. And I wish I deal with it every day. I still do not hate people for their happiness. I still celebrate other people when they're happy. So the fact that you are so miserable, you're more miserable than I am, that you would destroy other people's happiness is wild. It is wild to me. It is crazy that you would go out of your way to do that. You have got to be just a low person to ruin other people's happiness. That's all I have for you guys today. Please make sure that you let me know what you think down below. And as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today and get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Need more Kaiser in your life? Well, I've got you covered. Check out my second channel, The Kaiser Extras, where I upload full gameplays, stream compilations, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also upload a daily short with all the greatest clips from stream. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.